Hello everybody, welcome along to our webinar today. My name is Andrew Sims. I'm the CEO and one of the founders here at SuiteFiles. Thanks for coming along. Today we're going to have a look at the SuiteFiles system and how it can help your business, in particular how we focus on accounting practices and what they're going to get out of using a cloud-based file management system like SuiteFiles. You're here today probably because you came and saw us last week at the Accounting Business Expo in Sydney, and we're really following up just to give you a really a bit more detailed rundown as to how the SuiteFile system looks and how it operates, so that I guess you can get some interest or get a feel for whether it's going to be of use to your business. So thanks for coming along today. We really appreciate that. First of all, a little bit of housekeeping. I am recording the webinar today, so once we're done, we'll process that recording and send out a link to it. That'll probably come to you tomorrow. If you've got questions, we're using the Zoom webinar system today, and in there you can type questions into the system. Now, just because I have limited screen real estate, I've actually hidden the question control panel right now for me. But please type your questions in when they come up, and we will have time at the end of the session to answer those questions, and I will certainly make sure that I loop back to all questions that have been asked during the course of the webinar today. Also, if you've got other windows and things open that might be using your internet connection at the moment to get the most out of any online meeting, it's best to have those things closed, just so that there's no contention with bandwidth over your internet connection, and you're going to get the best possible voice, sound, and video coming through to you. Okay, let's have a look at today's agenda, what I'm going to talk to you about. So first of all, I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction into SuiteFiles, who we are as a business, and how long we've been around, all that sort of stuff, just so that you know who we are. Then I'm going to give you a run through into the SuiteFile system, and in particular I'm going to focus on some key things that accountants are telling us are critical in their business, and we can show you how we can help you with those key things. And then I want to talk to you also about migrating to SuiteFiles. So one other question that people ask us is, okay, so it's all very well to have the functionality that the SuiteFile system has, but I've got 100 gigabytes of files sitting in a file server or another system, and how do I move those into SuiteFiles and make sure that I can leverage all of the information that I've had in my previous file systems within SuiteFiles. Okay, so who are we? Well, we're a small business based in Wellington in New Zealand. On Monday, we're actually 7 years old, so that's a little bit of a milestone for us. Still around after 7 years, which is, that they say for a lot of small businesses that they don't make it that far. So we've got that far, which is great, and we're growing fast. We've doubled the size of the team here in the last 6 months, and we're doing a lot of work with accounting firms across Australia, New Zealand, the UK. We've got clients in South Africa and Singapore, and actually just got our first client in Trinidad and Tobago, which honestly seemed a little bit random at the time, but it's great that we're into the Caribbean as well now. We are a business that you'd say is born in the cloud, so everything that we do inside the business is cloud-based. We don't have any server infrastructure, and I guess we started the business at a time when that was possible. We didn't have to have that legacy server infrastructure in place, so we're quite lucky as a result. But I guess the point of highlighting that is, we practice what we preach in that regard. SuiteFiles is built on the Microsoft Office 365 platform, and we've been a Microsoft partner for the 7 years that we've been in existence as a business, and we've even won a bunch of awards down here in New Zealand for the work that we're doing on Microsoft's cloud platforms. We are pretty tightly linked and networked into Xero. So actually it was more than 7 years ago, it was more like 8 years ago, we actually started working with the Xero team. This was before we actually created the SuiteFiles business itself. And we were helping an initiative that they had down here in New Zealand called the Modern Practice. And that was around helping accounting firms completely shut down their servers and move everything to the cloud. So we've been involved with Xero for quite a long time in helping accounting practices actually become fully cloud-based. SuiteFiles as an application is really designed for the small to medium business. It's quite important to understand that, and there's a real distinction here. So there are a number of file storage solutions that you can get in the marketplace that are consumer focused. So by that, what I mean is, they're the kind of thing that you would use at home for your personal things. So we're not designed to be a consumer application, and then decided that maybe business is something that we want to go after. So we've tried to scale up and have the problems that come with that. That's not us. Also, we're not an application we didn't design the application for the enterprise. So the large, many hundreds or thousands of seats in the organization using SuiteFiles, and then actually decide that we want to scale down to the small to medium business. We've actually designed everything with the small to medium business at heart. So the things that we both think and believe from feedback that we've got from many small to medium businesses, that we've designed a system that is really easy to use for that small to medium business category of organization. By that, what do I mean? Well, we have a number of organizations that are really small, 1, 2, maybe 3 users inside the business, and then we have some other businesses that are very clearly in that medium-sized range, sort of between 60 and 100 staff. And then there's our focus on the accountants vertical. So while we've been hooked up with Xero helping accountants move their files to the cloud, there's actually, at the time when we're doing that, the systems that we had were quite generic. But since then, we've actually built integration into, in particular, the Xero Practice Manager, but also Xero HQ. And we can really show that there's a benefit to accounting practices by having those integrations. Okay, so what's the problem? Why do you need something like a SuiteFiles? Well, what you're really trying to do, or the people who come to us, what they're trying to do is move everything to the cloud, and they've got either a file system or a document management system that is server-based, and they want to turn that off. Often the file management system is the last thing on the server that they have to turn off because either they've thought that moving files to the cloud was too hard, or they just haven't known what other options there have been. Certainly moving things like email to the cloud is pretty straightforward. There's a bunch of tools and patterns out there for doing that, and just about anyone can do it for you. Moving files is a bit more of a specialist subject. So what we're trying to do is help you turn that server off and have a system that integrates exceptionally well with Xero. Okay, let's have a look. Demo time. So what I'm going to do now is just switch over to SuiteFiles. This is our live demo site, so there's no smoke and mirrors here. It is actually connected directly to the internet, and I'm at the mercy of the internet if things were to go wrong during the demo. So fingers crossed that will just be fine for this. So what we've got here is the SuiteFiles homepage, and what you can see is over on the left-hand side we've got folders. So these are the top level folders in the SuiteFiles system. Now that's, I guess, a really key thing to highlight or call out right at the outset. When we set SuiteFiles up and we wanted to make it as easy as possible for small to medium businesses to use, some feedback that came through to us loud and clear right from day one was that folders and folder structure is what everyone is familiar with. Everyone's used a file system, File Explorer, or having a server with a folder structure on it from from day one, probably from when personal computers first came out. If you're like me, you'd remember it from sort of the mid 80s, that folder structure in place. So we originally started out using metadata and tagging our files, but what we found was for small to medium businesses that just getting their head around the concept of using metadata was confusing. And for most people who were using the system, the idea of a folder and putting your files in the folder was key, and that just makes the transition to SuiteFiles just that little bit easier for everybody. We can copy the folder structure that you have on your server as well. So when you navigate around, come into your clients folder, for example, you would see a familiar folder structure, and you can drill down into your client folders, and you can see the subfolders, and you can see the files that are sitting in those client folders. Now, when you're working with files, all you need to do is simply click on a file, and it's going to open it up. So what I've got here is I've opened this file up in Word Online. So this is the browser-based version of Office, really. But I can still use the desktop version of Office as well. All I need to do is click the Open in Office button, and that's going to fire up that document directly into Word on my desktop computer. So again, from an ease of use perspective, your staff and users of the system will have options. They can use the browser-based version of Office, or they can use the desktop version of Office, and it doesn't matter to us. Both work seamlessly with SuiteFiles. You can also change some settings so that when you click on the file here, you default to opening directly into the desktop version of Office as opposed to opening in the browser. But what the key thing here is that when you're opening a file directly out of the browser into your desktop version of Office, when you save any changes to that file, those changes are going to be saved straight back into your Office 365 system, and in particular into SuiteFiles, so that the next person who sees the document will open it up, and all of those changes in that file will actually be there for them to see at that time. And I think that's really critical to the success of SuiteFiles is making that as seamless as possible, being able to open a document directly into the desktop version of Office, edit it, save it straight back to SuiteFiles, and the next person can see those changes that are being made. Whether you use the browser-based version of Office or the desktop-based version is over to you as an end user, and each person can make that decision. I still think that the majority of people use the desktop version of Office. I know that I tend to do that on a day-to-day basis rather than the browser version, but I think that's slowly changing as well. The browser version of Office is getting better and better to the point where it is just about the same as the desktop version. It's just getting people used to working in the browser as opposed to in the desktop. Okay. We can navigate around the file system. We can click on a file and open it up and edit the document directly from the browser if we want to. Some other things we can do to help you get around the file system. So if I'm in the home folder here, I have some folders and files that I have marked as personal favorites. The example here is, you bookmark a website. If you wish to return to it regularly, well, I can bookmark or favorite folders and files. So these are personal to me as the logged in user. No one else will see these as their personal favorites unless they've specifically marked them themselves. So in here you can see I've got 3 files. And click on a file, it's just going to open it up, and you can see that document in there already. If it's a folder, you can see here I've got some folders, and I can click on the folder name, and it takes me straight to that folder, and you can see the subfolders and content of it and navigate around and open what you need. This is great. It's a really simple feature, but it's awesome because there could be files that you work on a regular basis. I know I have files in my SuiteFiles that I use every day, files that I open 2 or 3 times a day, just with reference information and things that I can go to, and they're marked as favorites. I don't have to navigate. I don't have to search or remember where those files are. They're in my favorites. It's really nice and easy. So that's one thing, favorites. Another thing is if you happen to have a folder with many subfolders, and in this case, my clients folder here has 449 subfolders. It can be a bit of a pain scrolling to the bottom of that list. So I'm doing it, and I've had enough already. I'm only into the J's, and I've only got 449 or 450 subfolders here. It could well be that you have in your business thousands of clients that are all set up in the Zero Practice Manager, and they should all have a corresponding client folder in SuiteFiles, so therefore you'd have thousands of client folders. And navigating down that list of folders, or should I say scrolling down that list, is just painful. So we have this folder filtering feature. What we can do here is we can type some letters into this text box, hit enter, and next thing you know, what is displayed are all of the subfolders of the folder we're currently in. So in this case, the clients folder, that start with whatever text we put into that text box there. So here's all my subfolders that start with Z, and you saw how quickly they displayed. I could put more things in here. I could type ABC, and there you go. I've got two subfolders that start with ABC. I might just have some subfolders that start with the word test. And there you go, you can see that in there. So I've got three subfolders here. It's important to understand that this is a filtering feature. It's not search. So it's not searching through the full name of the subfolders. It's just searching or filtering for the text at the start of the folder name. If you wish to run a search, that's this text box at the top of the screen here. And I've already got the word test written into the text box from a previous demo I was doing today. But if I click into the text box, what you can see now are some different results. So in this case, first of all, I've got client folders. So these are the folders with the person like Grace icon to the left of their name, the folder name. And you can see I've got a whole bunch of client folders here that have the word test in their name. It's not just about test at the start of the name. It's anywhere in that string for the client name. Then I've got files. So what I've got are 7 files that meet the criteria of the word test in some way, shape, or form. And these are deemed to be the 7 most relevant files to me, because these are files that have come up in what we call quick search. They've come up because maybe I've bookmarked them, maybe I've had them shared with me or shared them with other people, or maybe I've worked on them recently. And then we have other subfolders here that have the word test associated to them in some way, shape, or form. Of course, you can click on a folder. Well, there's nothing in that one. Okay, there's a letter in that, there's a document in that folder there, and it's always going to take you straight to that client folder. So that's how search works in terms of what we call our quick search. And also, I guess quick search probably really is most relevant when it comes to searching for clients. Now, as I mentioned, we've got 7 files that meet the criteria of the word test that are deemed to be most relevant to me. My search results will always only show me a maximum of 7 files. What I want to do, though, maybe is search across my entire file system to find every document that has the word test associated to it, because I know that there's more than 7 files that meet that criteria. So all I need to do actually is just, after typing the words into the text box, is just hit enter. And what you can see now, I've got 380 files that meet the criteria of the word test. Going from 7 files to 380 is obviously a bit of an increase, and you know you'd need to navigate your way through the system to or through the list of results to find the document you're after. You can always sort them if you need to. But what we've done also is built in these refiners that use metadata that's associated to the file. This metadata is all set up without you even realizing you've done it. And this metadata allows us to drill down into the search results and find, or narrow down to find, the document we're after. So we use metadata around whether a folder has been archived or not, or whether the file's been archived or not, or whether the file has been marked as a favorite. We've got metadata around the file types. So here are all the Excel spreadsheets that for one reason or another have the word test associated to them. We've also got client folders. So I can drill into a client folder and find every document that has the word test associated to it. In this case, it's quite easy because they've all got test in the actual name of the file. We've got financial year folders, so we can see information in there. We can also do things with our refining around who last modified the file, plus also when the files might have last been edited. So what you can see there is a very quick and powerful search engine that allows you to search across your entire file system and then narrow things down to drill into find the files that you're actually after. Okay, so that's sort of a quick intro into the SuiteFiles web app. What I want to do now is flip over and have a look at how we integrate with the Xero Practice Manager. So this is really around what we're doing for accounting firms and how we are providing some benefit for you. I guess just another bit of background info. Excuse me. SuiteFiles is designed for any business to be able to use, but with our XPM integration, around about 75% of our customers actually have ended up being accountants so far, and it's really driven by this integration that we've got with Xero. Okay, so let's just work through a little process of, first of all, let's create a brand new client. So let's think of a client name. Destinations. Here we go. So I'm going to create a new client in Xero Practice Manager. And what the Practice Manager is going to do right now is it's going to have a look inside SuiteFiles and it's going to try and work out whether a client folder exists for this client already. What it's doing is it's actually looking directly into the clients folder and it's looking for a subfolder in here that has the name Final Destinations Travel Limited. Obviously, I couldn't find one because what's happened is this pop-up form has come up and it's asking me if I'd like to create that subfolder. So I would like to create a subfolder, and I would also like to apply what we call a folder template. So a folder template is a standardized structure of subfolders that we can put under the new document, or sorry, the new folder that we're creating. Great. So you can see I've got a little message now saying that the folder has been created in SuiteFiles, and also what's going to happen is you can see that we've put this link into the SuiteFiles system, and this is a link directly to that client folder in SuiteFiles. So if I click on it, it's going to open another tab and take me directly to this client folder that we've just created. So there we go, Final Destinations Travel Limited. We've got our subfolders in here, and you can see the subfolders can even have other levels of subfolders beneath them. All these subfolders were created using our folder template. In the Practice Manager, also, if we go to the Documents tab here, what happens is that the Practice Manager looks inside SuiteFiles and it looks for the client folder, and it's going to show me, if it can find the client folder, all of the subfolders and files that might be associated to that client folder. So you can see we've got just the standard subfolders in here. If we come back here, let's just upload a file into this client's folder. Just doing that by dragging and dropping it from the File Explorer into SuiteFiles. So there it is uploaded. If we come back to the Practice Manager and just refresh that view, you can see there's that document loaded into SuiteFiles and made available through the Practice Manager interfaces. And if I click on that file, what it's going to do is it's going to open that document for me inside of SuiteFiles. And that means that if I want to edit it and change it and then save it, the changes are all saved back directly into the SuiteFiles system. We can always navigate around our folder structure in here also, so you can drill down into the folders if you need to. Okay, so that's really highlighting from within the Practice Manager. I've got a couple of ways that I can see my client files. One is I can click the link that we've got here on the screen, And the other is I can go to that Documents tab and I can see all of the documents that are associated to that client folder in the SuiteFile system. What I want to do now is I just want to complete the setup of my client. So obviously all I did was put in a client name, but what I can do is I can also set this client up with a whole bunch of information. So let's do this. I want to put some contact details in here. In this case, I'm just going to put an address. Need to be able to spell, of course. And then I'm going to put in more information here, say about GST information. And then I've got some custom fields that I've set up so I can keep information about my client. And yeah, always refer to this down the track. So I've got some key info here, and then I've got another set of custom fields here around the services that are required. So I can check the services required for this client, and then hit save. So obviously I'm going to save that info. What I now need to do, the last thing, is I just want to set up a contact in here. So our contact is going to be Harry Wilson. Harry's name in here. I'm just going to put some details in here too. I'll show you why I need these in a second. But I'm going to put my demo email address in here. I'm going to get information for Harry sent directly to me. And I'm also going to put my mobile number. And save it. So that's all set up, ready to go. When I put this information in here, a lot of it does cache directly into the SuiteFile system, and it does it pretty much in real time. But just to double check that I'm going to get all the information to sync across into SuiteFiles from the Practice Manager, I'm just going to close SuiteFiles and open it again, because every time I reopen it, it actually does a full update of the information that we're syncing across from the Practice Manager. So that's just going to aid the speed of doing things at this stage. So let's find our client. There he is there. Actually, I've jumped a step. What I need to do now is I need to show you that I can take any document inside a SuiteFile. So say this Word file here, and if I want to, I can turn it into a document template. So the assumption, of course, is that the content of that document is worth keeping and it's worth reusing. And I can then save it as a template. I can give it a name. I can even categorize it, and that document is going to be put into my template gallery here. So in here, I've got a template that I use for my demos. So we'll just open that up, and what you can see is I've got a sort of a fake accounting firm that I'm using to do all this work for, and I've got this template that I've set up. Now the template has these tags in it. These are tags of information that we can pull back from the Xero Practice Manager and use to populate this file. Some of the tags are pretty simple, like business name here. That is just simply a straight swap of the business name for the client from Practice Manager. These address tags, well, in any CRM really, you could keep a postal address for a client, you could keep a physical address, or you could keep both, or maybe even none. But you never know what format of address you've actually got unless you actually open up the CRM and have a look. So to sort of save a little bit of time, what we've done is put some logic into these address fields. So by default, they're going to look for the postal address, and if that doesn't exist, they'll use the physical address. There are more fields in here just with straight tags or tags with straight swaps of information. We're pulling information out of the custom fields just here that we were setting up and filling in inside the practice manager. And then this block of text here is really just about confirming the information that we've set up in the practice manager about our client. And this one here is confirming whether or not the client wishes to receive our monthly newsletter. Now that's driven by this field just here, this receive newsletter. But in particular, it's driven by the answer, the result for that that field, which is a yes or a no value. And what I mean by that is we've built some tags that have even more powerful logic than just the address one, which is looking for a yes/no value for from the practice manager, and then you can put whatever text into your document you need based on whether the value is yes or no. So in this case, confirming whether the client wishes to receive our monthly newsletter, yes or no, and the answer in XPM at the moment is no, so we're going to insert those two words, do not, into that sentence. If the answer was yes, basically all of this here just wouldn't appear in that sentence at all. More custom fields into various formats in the document. I've also got the ability to use what we call business fields or business data and populate that into templates. So this is information that I can customize directly within my SuiteFiles site that makes sense for me. In this example, I've got address details for my business. Now, obviously you don't change address a lot, but if you do move offices and need to change your address, you can just change those details in SuiteFiles and it will filter through to all of your templates. So you don't have to go through, I don't know, 10, 20, maybe 100 templates and update your address details if you do it doing it like that I'm doing it here. The irony is we're moving offices on Monday, so I'm actually going to be able to use this feature fully going forward. And that's our document. Okay, so it's that's our template all set up, ready to go. The way we use the template is we would go to our client folder and we would click the create button and create a file from a template. We scroll down and we find our template, so it's Abacus Accounting XPM Demo Letter. And you can see when I've clicked on that, the system has worked out that because we're in the client folder for Final Destinations Travel Limited, and because Final Destinations Travel Limited has a client record in XPM, that this name is going to pre-populate for us. And also the name of the document when we create it is going to pre-populate. This is a suggested name. This is going to be Abacus Accounting XPM Demo Letter for Financial Destinations Travel Limited. So it's the template name plus the client name appended to it. I could override this name if I want to. I don't want to at this stage, but I could do it. So to create the document from the template, I just hit create. What happens now is that that document is going to be created in this folder using the name that we suggested, and it's going to be pre-populated with the information about our client from XPM. So you can see here, there's the business name, there's the address, it's the postal address that's gone in there because that's all we had. And we're pulling information back out of XPM, so those custom fields that we set up are being pre-populated in here and down in here as well. You can see the words do not inserted into that sentence based on that yes/no value in the practice manager, and also things like my the business's address details and the email footer and that sort of thing, or sorry, the document footer are all set up ready to go. Now, something that's brand spanking new in SuiteFiles, you can see that I've got this confirmation thing here. So what I want to be able to do is show you how I can request a signature to be inserted into a document from an external party and do it all electronically without having to print any paper and use a pen or anything like that. So this document is set up so that we can show you how to do that as well. All I need to do, if I've got a Word document open, is click Request Signature. What happens is this document gets converted to a PDF. So there's basically, it's going to be called Abacus Accounting XPM Demo Letter for Final Destination Travel Limited .pdf. It's going to sit in that client folder for us. And we opened the PDF, and now what we want to do is get the document marked up for signing. So you could open a PDF directly out of SuiteFiles, and you'd have this option here as well for document signing. And you've got a few options. So the first option, sign and save, that's all about a letter that you might write that you need to sign and send on to somebody, but they don't actually need to sign the document. Quick sign is what that does is we can put a client name or a person's name into there, and it's going to look inside the Xero Practice Manager and see if we've got a contact person that we can associate that with, and that's what I'm going to do next. Advanced sign is for the situation where the contact is not set up in the Xero Practice Manager, and I can manually add name, email address, and phone number. Okay, so now what I can do is I can choose my client, or sorry, choose my contact. If I can't remember my contact's name, but I can remember the client name, I can start typing that client name into here, and you get all the contacts that are associated to it. And just to show you that, if I type 99 Corporation, you can actually see I've got 3 contacts associated to that client. Obviously, that's not the client I'm interested in, and it hasn't quite refreshed yet. Okay, so what I need to do is come out, and I mentioned that every now and then the details just don't quite refresh as fast as I'd like or get sucked in from the Practice Manager. So let's do this. Hopefully that's going to get it this time. Here's our PDF. Let's open it up. There we go. So now start typing final destinations, and there's our Harry Wilson who's just come through. Select Harry. Obviously, Harry's got my email address, and that's so that when I send this document off for signing, the notification emails are going to come to me, and I can actually just show you the process and what it looks like from the end user perspective. So I can also choose multiple people to sign a file. It doesn't have to be just one person countersigning it. You could have 5 or 6 or 10, however many people you need. So now we've got our file ready to be marked up for signing. So you can see over on the left-hand side here, I've got this drop down. These are all the people who can sign the document, me. So I'll put my signature in here. And then I can get Harry to sign it as well. So Harry's going to sign it here. Going to put his full name here. Oops. What's happened here? Let's just move that down to there. And then we can put the date signed here. We can line all that up. Might also be that we want Harry to initial the first page, and maybe we'll get to initial this page as well. Okay, the document is all ready to go. So all I need to do is hit save and send. At this point, you get the option to draft up an email that you want to send to the recipient. I'm not going to say too much more than this. That's the standard text, and that's okay for demo purposes. Also, we get the option here to turn on this SMS verification. So this is why I put my mobile number into the Xero Practice Manager. Anyone who you send an email to get a document electronically signed with using other systems, that email could be intercepted, and the person who intercepts the email could sign the file. And there's no guarantee that the person who did sign the file was the person who meant to sign it. With this text verification service, because we've got both your email address and mobile number, there's obviously a double or a two-factor authentication that comes into it. So the person who receives the email has to sign the document, and then when they finish signing it, you get a text code, which is like a that you've got to put into the system just to double check that not only do you get the email, but you got the text code to sign the document, and we've got the right person. So we just hit save. Now that's now processing, and it's going to send that signature out, and we'll send an email out to the contact and ask for a signature. I do need to fire up Outlook and open up my demo account. Okay, so that's now being set up. It's all ready to go. I can also see all of the documents that I have sent out for signing. So here's the document in particular that we've just done at the top of the screen, and you can see that's in progress. I've got a bunch of other files in here that I've sent out for signing. You can see they're in varying different states. Some are completed, some are in progress. That one there's expired. So yeah, there's different statuses for the files, and you can just use these filters over here to see directly the different statuses for these documents. So there's completed. These are the ones that are in progress. So these are probably the things I've got to chase. If someone declines a file, it would turn up in here. I haven't actually declined anything from my demo site to show you anything. Expired. So every document, when it gets sent out, has a 7-day lifespan that the recipient needs to sign it within 7 days. If they don't, you can extend the expiry period, but yeah, at the moment it needs to be done within 7 days by default. Cancelled, so these are files that would have been sent out for signing that for one reason or another you've decided that the recipient shouldn't sign it. Maybe the recipient's come back and said, look, can you please make a change? The details aren't quite right, so you'd cancel the signature request on that file, update the file, and then mark it all up again to get a signature. The last thing, nothing to do with filtering all this list of documents that have been sent out for signing, is custom branding. So you can put your business's logo and colors into the email address that the recipient or the person who signs the document needs to see, plus also into the email that they'll get when asked to sign that document. Okay, I've opened my email. This is the latest email that I've had come in, and it's asking me to sign a file. And that's the one I'm after, the Abacus Accounting XPM demo letter for Final Destinations Travel Limited. So sign it. Also there's a note there that we've enabled SMS verification, so that you can expect by reading that to get sent a text code when you're actually signing the document. So to do that, to sign it, I click Review Document. And here's the user interface that the signer of the files will see. Obviously all branded up for me. I click Continue. I can click the scroll to next, and it takes me to the place where I need to take first action. So here's where the initials are going to go. We're going to sign the document, and more initials down here. You can see I've just received an email. It's telling me that the document is being viewed. So that every time a document gets opened up from the system, you'll get a notification as the person who marked that document up and sent it out for signing that someone has been viewing it. When we're done, we click Sign Document. And this is where we get asked for our text verification code. So I've just got to get my phone out. And in here, the code has just come in, 343082. And hit that. So there we go. The document has now been signed. What will happen, I'll get an email very shortly telling me that the document has been signed by the recipient, and then I'll get another email because it was my email address that was used for signing the document with an attachment with a signed copy of that file in it. So there you go, there's documents being signed, or there's the one with the attachment, and there's the emails telling me that the document's been signed. So this email here that's currently highlighted, that's what the person who sent the document out for signing will receive, and this email is what the person who signed the document will receive. If we go back into here, I'll just go out of there and come back in to refresh it. You'll now see at the top of the screen, this document has been completed. And if I look at the history of the file to see what's happened to it, you can see it's being viewed and text code's being requested. We've validated it, and then we've signed the document. Also, quite important to note is that back in the client folder, there's a new document that's been added, and that is the document that we created earlier, the template. It's got the word signed appended to it, so actually that's the signed version of the file. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So you can see there's Harry Wilson's initials on the first page, there's his signature and name and date signed, and more initials down on the bottom of the second page as well. So that's it's a bit long-winded, but it's our integration with XPM, and it's also the document signing feature that we've got now in SuiteFiles. Let's finish up by having a look at, from a demo perspective, by having a look at Outlook. So in Outlook, I have this add-in, and this add-in connects directly to my SuiteFiles site that I've been looking at and doing the demo with today. So I can do a search for Final Destinations Travel Limited, and click into here, and I can see all the folders and files that are in that client folder. The whole purpose of this add-in is to allow you to easily save content from your inbox directly into SuiteFiles. So here's an email that's a little bit different. It's not one of my document signing ones. It has an attachment, and if I wish to save the attachment, I can just drag and drop it into the folder over there, and that's being loaded. If I wish to save the email, because I think that there's a bunch of content in here that's worth saving, I can drag and drop from my inbox over into that folder, and you can see, bang, that file, email has been saved into the SuiteFile system. So really, really easy to get content that's sitting in your inbox. You know, this content could well be, you know, should often be deemed to be, you know, business collateral, or business content. So there's information in here that that's going back and forth between me and customers or clients, and maybe that information needs to sit somewhere where that other people can see it. So for the days that I'm away, someone can pick up for me, or if I happen to leave the business, all that info is directly in the file system and easy to access and find for the person who takes over from my job. So we can get information into SuiteFiles. We can get information out of SuiteFiles and attach it to emails that we're sending. Just a case of creating your email, click attach from SuiteFiles. Let's go again to our new client, and let's just add that document. So very quickly and easily, we've added a file into the email that we're sending, and we can obviously draft up our email. Now, if you've got some standard content that you wish to use in emails, just like you might wish, like you had with document templates, we can very easily create an email template in SuiteFiles. Okay. Say that's my content, the attachment in that text, and I just click Save as email attachment. I'd give it a name. If I want to, sorry, save as email template, give it a name. And if I want to attach or keep the attachment in the email template, I just click the button there, and I click Create Template. What that'll do is it'll create a template that sits inside of SuiteFiles, and everyone in my organization can immediately access it. I do have one template, sorry, excuse me, already set up. And here it is here. So this template, as you can see quite quickly, has the same tags in it that the document template had when we were doing things through the browser. Tags in the subject, tags in the body of the email, tags in the attachment's name, and then if I open the attachment, tags in the attachment itself. So, of course, what that means is that I can create a new email from that template, and now I can choose from here my drop-down list of clients that I've got set up in the Xero Practice Manager, and I can click pre-populate. Just like that, you've got an email that's been pre-populated with client information in the subject line, in the body of the email, the attachment's been populated, it's had its name changed, and the body of the attachment has been populated as well. And then finally, when I send this attachment, I'll just send it to myself, I get asked, would I like to save a copy of the sent item? And the answer may well be yes. So let's save it into our Final Destinations Travel Limited folder, and I hit send and file it. And once it's been sent, I can refresh, and there it is. It's the fourth from bottom file that's sitting in my folder there in SuiteFiles. Okay, that's enough demo. We're getting towards the end of our time as well, so let's get back into our slide deck and finish a few things off. So I promised you that I'd talk to you about migrating. So what are your migration options? Well, there's really, I guess, three options that you've got. One migration option, which is always valid, is do nothing. Do you actually want to migrate your files into SuiteFiles? And the answer might well be no. We certainly have a number of customers who do this. They set up SuiteFiles, and then they will actually set everything up themselves, because often they're wishing for a clean start with their file system and they want to restructure everything. Other times they might not have a lot of data that's sitting in their existing file system, and so they'll set up SuiteFiles themselves and just drag and drop the 3 gigs of data that they've got sitting on another file system somewhere that they want to migrate. That's one option. Another option is just set up a folder structure. So we get asked this occasionally as well, where we can take basically a client list from XPM and set up a folder for every client, and then you might have a standardized set of subfolders that you want under each client. So we can run a process pretty quickly to get that all up and running for you. It's quite straightforward, but that's another option. What happens in this scenario is because you've got all that folder structure set up, you can obviously save all of your new files into I guess what's called the correct location, because it's based on that structure. And also, if you are working with clients that there's some information in your previous system that you need to migrate across that's relevant to that client at the time you're working with them, it's very easy to do, to just drag and drop into the folder structure that's already set up. The third option is the full bang or the full Monty. We migrate everything. So you have a folder structure sitting on a file server, or maybe you have another document management system. What we can do, if you've got another document management system, is we can extract all the files from that, put them into a folder structure on your server, and then copy that folder structure directly into SuiteFiles itself. So yeah, those are the three options. Do everything, do nothing, or somewhere in between. What can be migrated? Well, pretty much anything. So most files can be migrated from your file server to SuiteFiles. I would suggest that while most files can be migrated, migrating things like your iTunes library, or maybe the backup of your camera roll on your phone, those kinds of things are probably not worth putting into SuiteFiles. Just simply, we want to keep SuiteFiles really set up for the business and not for your personal things. There are some other file types that can't be migrated. These tend to be executable files. Basically, Microsoft don't want those executable files sitting on their file servers and someone executing them on that file server. That's, I guess, exactly the kind of thing that we're all trying to protect our computers against as well, in terms of people doing dodgy stuff and sending viruses. That's how you'd get them. What can you migrate from? Well, you can migrate from plenty of things. You can migrate from just a standard file system on a file server, or a hard drive on a computer. You can migrate from other cloud solutions such as a Dropbox or a Box or a Google Drive. We have ways to do that. You can migrate from other accounting-based document management solutions, or even other non-accounting-based document management solutions. We've done migrations from virtual cabinets, from HowNow, Handysoft, iManage, MYOB, all the big file management systems. We've got ways that we can export all of your files into a folder structure that makes sense for your business, and then migrate that up into SuiteFiles for you. The process is a really good question, and I think it's really important to understand. So essentially a week or but probably about 2 weeks before you want to migrate, we need to be finalizing all the details around that, finalizing the pricing for doing it and getting an agreement signed, finalizing the folder structure that you want to have set up if you're migrating from another file management system, and making sure that what you want is what you can get. Then we start to think about getting access to your servers so that we can run the process. And we want that access around about, well, normally on a Tuesday. And then what we can do is start accessing the server and preparing. There might be scripts we need to write. There might be other things we need to do to prepare and make sure that the final product that you're going to get, or the final result you're going to get, is exactly what you're after. We do that over sort of a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and come Friday, we're ready to go. And we want to make sure that on Friday, probably generally at the end of the working day, we will get onto your server and we will start the process, whether that be an extraction from a document management solution that already exists, or just copying the files directly off a file server into SuiteFiles. We can start that process on a Friday night. It's important to know that when that process starts, we want you to stop using the files that are in your existing file system. Basically, we cannot guarantee that after we've started the process, any changes that you've made to existing files or new files that you've added to the system will actually be picked up in that migration. Over the weekend, we migrate you. The target is to be all up and running and ready to go by Monday morning. Sometimes that doesn't happen. We can often identify when we think there's a risk of it not happening before we start the process, and we'll certainly talk to you about that and work out a plan of attack. Other times, there's just things that can go wrong. I've had migrations where there have been power cuts to the servers, and obviously that just stops everything, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it until the power comes back on, and it's nobody's fault. So sometimes that stuff does happen, but the target is that by Monday morning you're up and running, and the whole goal is to minimize the amount of downtime that your business has while we migrate you to SuiteFiles. Come Monday morning, or even Sunday evening, you'll get some emails from us with the results of the migration, telling you what's happened, how it's all worked, what issues or sort of edge cases for files might have been found, and either how we've dealt with them, or we might ask you questions about how you'd like us to deal with them. But generally, yeah, Monday morning, you're ready to go. You'll have all the SuiteFiles apps set up on your desktop computer, and you'll start working in SuiteFiles. Come Monday afternoon, or probably about midday Australian time, we start running training sessions for our customers. We actually run 4 different training sessions. There's a standard user session, there's an advanced user session, there's an administrator session, and there's a session which is about specifically the integration with the Xero Practice Manager. Those are run on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. We don't do all 4 on each day, but we do all 4 over the Monday to Wednesday period, and then we repeat them all again the following week. So that's the general process for migrations. All right, those are, I guess, the key messages that I wanted to get across to you. Sort of comes up to what next. If you like what you've seen, there is a free 30-day trial of SuiteFiles, and I always strongly recommend that if you're interested in SuiteFiles, that you do the trial first. Make sure that SuiteFiles is the thing that you want to use within your business, and that it is going to provide you with value. And the only way you can do that is get that 30-day trial and give it a good run, test it out. We have 3 different levels of plan. The starter plan, very few people use. The most popular plan we have is the full suite, and that has the majority of the things that I've shown you in the demo today. We also have our Pro plan. That is the plan that has the document signing built into it, and that's probably a plan that a lot of people are going to move to because of that document signing feature. If you do want a trial, you need to go to our website. That's www.suitefiles.com, and there's a big button at the top right of the screen, I believe, that says request a trial. Just click that, fill in the form, and then we'll be in touch with details about what to do next to get yourself a SuiteFiles trial. Okay, that's all my content. So questions, let's get into the Zoom tool and see what questions we actually have. Okay, here's a good question. Can you limit which folders staff can see, so they can only see their clients? The answer to that is yes, absolutely. So there's a full security model built into SuiteFiles. That works in two ways. So each user has specific permissions that they are granted when they're set up. By default, a standard user actually cannot delete anything in SuiteFiles. If you want users to be able to delete things, you need to either make them an administrator or you need to give them a specific permission level in the system. Also, a standard user cannot create nor edit templates. So it's quite possible that you want to control your templates and what's in them, and you don't want people changing them just because they can. So again, a standard user can't edit templates, but you can set them up so that they could have permissions to do that. Standard users cannot download the contents of an entire folder, and standard users cannot change the custom branding that we've got in the document signing feature. So that's one thing. Another thing is that if you want to limit access to a folder, you can set up security groups in SuiteFiles. In those security groups, you add users to them, and then you apply the security group to the folder. At that point in time, only the members of the security group can see the content of the folder. As far as everyone else is concerned who's not a member of that security group, that folder doesn't even display in SuiteFiles for them. It doesn't exist. You can't find the content of that folder through search, and also someone who does have access to the folder cannot share the content of it with someone who doesn't have access to that folder. So it is all pretty well locked down. Can you change the display name of the email so it does not show no reply? At this stage, the answer to that is no. Like pretty much every other document signing system that's out there at the moment, the emails actually come to you from the system that is requesting the signature, as opposed to, say, from you. And that's why we've allowed you to put the custom brand in there, so that at least you can make it look and feel a bit more like the email is yours. Can you stop users from not adding documents into a folder? Remove the documents outside of folders. Well, basically, every document has to be in a folder because that's the way the system is structured. But maybe what you're suggesting is you've got a client folder and you've got subfolders underneath it, and you want all of the documents to be in the subfolders as opposed to the actual client folder itself. The answer to that is the only way that you could stop users from doing that would be to make the client folder read-only access for everybody, and then the subfolders read-write. And just to go through that process, in particular if you've got lots of clients, it would be a long, laborious process. So probably the practical answer is no. It would be hard to do. The technical answer is yes, you could do it if you want to spend the time doing that. Next question. Do some basic templates come with SuiteFiles, or do you need to set up templates from scratch? We don't provide you with any content. You do need to use your own templates. Our view on this is that for accounting practices, and in particular ones that have been in practice for a while, you'll have your own content that you've already set up, probably already sitting in your current system. It might be that, if you've just got a file server, you've got a folder called templates, and in there you've got some template documents, and you copy and paste them into a new folder and customize them accordingly. We can help you very quickly set those templates up into the template gallery in SuiteFiles, and then just get everything set up ready to go. So yeah, we don't provide the content. We let you provide your own. Do you integrate with Gov reports? So no, not at this stage. We don't integrate with Gov reports. We're doing some things where we're going to integrate with a couple of organisations that pull information out of, for example, the ATO client portal, and then set off some workflows. That's stuff that will be coming in the near future. But no, we do not integrate with Gov Reports at this stage. All right. I think we're over time now, actually. So unless there's any last minute questions that people want to type into the system, we've come to the end of our time, and it's probably a good time to say thank you. Thank you very much for coming along today and spending your time, an hour of your time, having a look at SuiteFiles. I really hope that it has been of value to you, and that you've seen the things that you need to see. If you have any questions as a result of today's webinar, there's my contact details. Feel free to email me. Ask me any questions you like, and I will get back to you just as soon as I can. Also, as I mentioned, the webinar is being recorded, so watch out in your inbox tomorrow for a link to that recording. If there are other people in your organisation who need to see the recording, please share it with them. There might even be other people you know of who are not in your organisation who you think would get value out of seeing this. So, and they might be interested in using SuiteFiles. So feel free to share with them also, please. Okay, everyone. Thanks again for your time. I do greatly appreciate it, and I hope that the rest of your Tuesday and the rest of your week is just brilliant, and that we'll be talking to you very soon.